Well, hello, and welcome to Three Barns of Charm. My name is Leanne, and I love doing all things farmhouse and rustic and super cute, you guys. Look how cute this is. Look how cute. Oh my goodness. Check out this paint technique, you guys. Oh my gosh. So cute. And would you believe, super easy, you guys. You can totally do this. I promise you. A little bit of glue dots, a little bit of hot glue, and some paint. Oh my goodness. And look what you come up with. Oh, so darling. Well, if you want to learn how to do this, then stay tuned. I'm going to teach you. Let's go over the supply list real quick for this technique and this particular tutorial. You don't necessarily need to use this particular tree. I just whipped this up in the wood shop, but you can absolutely use any wood tree, whether it would be from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or even Etsy. I know that there's quite a few options out there. There might even be a local craftsman that is creating these to sell. So look on Facebook Marketplace. That's a great place to look in your local area for artists that are creating these trees, because they're very simple and inexpensive. Along with your wood Christmas tree, you're going to need a few more supplies. You're going to need some lightweight ornaments. I got mine at the Dollar Tree, but I'm sure right now, being it's Christmas time, everybody's got inexpensive ornaments. So you could go to Walmart, you can go to Hobby Lobby, my goodness, any place that sells any kind of craft, anything, they're there. So I got mine at Dollar Tree. You want them to be fairly lightweight, and I don't recommend doing glass just for safety reasons. Mine are plastic. I chose to do chalk paint, but you don't need to do chalk paint. Chalk paint dries a little bit faster, in my opinion. I went with a medium green. I believe the color is fern, and I did just a white acrylic paint and a Waverly antique wax in brown. You're also going to need some snowflakes. I chose to use a snowflake, but you can use as many as you like. I put a little bit of greenery on top of my ornaments to just kind of round out the shapes and add a little bit of festive interest. And I also got those at the Dollar Tree, but again, any place that sells Christmas craft items will sell any type of greenery. You are going to need a glue gun, and I recommend using glue dots as well, and we'll go over that. But you don't need to use glue dots. If you just want to use just hot glue, you're more than welcome to do so. But the glue dots give you a little bit of extra time to figure out your design. You're also going to need a paintbrush. I chose to use a foam paintbrush, but you can use any paintbrush you wish. And then I used a light strand, a fairy light strand. I believe that was about 7 feet long. Again, you don't have to add lights. You can add big lights or little lights. Mine came from Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description. But they were very inexpensive, and they're super lightweight, and they just add a little extra touch. So, all right, well, let's get started. Very first step that you're going to want to take is to stain your wood Christmas tree a dark brown color. I'm using the Waverly antique wax. I think I got it at Walmart for about $7. It's pretty inexpensive, and a little bit goes a long way. You can even water it down a little bit to make it last a little bit longer and make the stain a little bit lighter. But I'm going to use mine straight out of the bottle. And I just poured mine into just a little cup on a paper plate. And you're going to take your foam brush, and you're just going to coat the entire tree with the wax. Now, a little bit, like I said, goes a long way, so you don't need a whole lot of paint to coat the entire tree. And I do recommend doing the inside of your tree first, so it has a chance to dry quickly. So when it's time to glue the ornaments on the inside, it'll be ready to go. Like I said, we're just gonna a little dab will do ya. And I like to turn mine upside down. We'll turn the tree upside down so we can get into all the cracks and crevices. And I'm just going to kind of dry brush my tree. I'm not going to use a whole lot of paint. I don't want my brown to be super dark. I have to apologize for the volume. It's a little bit chilly outside today, and I have a heater going on in the studio in the shop. So if you hear a humming noise, that's my heater in the shop. So hopefully you guys can hear me okay. But you just want to coat the entire tree with the brown paint. And once I get my paint on my tree, then I kind of go back and just kind of smooth it out, smooth out the brush strokes. You don't want the paint dripping off of your tree because it'll take a lot longer to dry. So you just kind of go back in and just kind of push around the paint a little bit so it's not super thick in any one area. And this step doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to go back in with a couple more colors on top of this. So this is just kind of a base coat, kind of just to kind of set the stage to pop out the green and the white. Don't forget your cracks down in here. And once you get the interior of your tree all painted up, then go ahead and do all of the outside. The only sides you really don't need to do is the very bottom of the foot because that's where it's going to be resting. You don't necessarily need to worry about all the way into the crevices because when your tree is upside up, you're not going to see that. Just want to make sure that you get all the spots that you'll be able to see. Like the side of the foot, you will definitely see that when it's sitting on your shelf. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the back side and the front side. make sure you can kind of see that there's a little bit of some really wet paint right in there. I'm just going to smooth it out. Just take my brush and smooth it right out. And then once you're finished with the first coat of brown paint, just set it aside to dry. And like I said, the chalk paint will take, depending on the temperature of your room, the warmer the room, the quicker it will dry. I'm in a shop, so it's going to be it's going to take a little bit of time for this to dry. So I would maybe say about 15-20 minutes, or put it in front of a fan, or even get a hair dryer out and you can blow dry your chalk paint or whatever paint that you are using. So let this dry and I will see you in a few minutes. Once you get your tree coated in the brown paint and you gave it time to set up and dry, you're going to want to go ahead and add your green layer of paint. And this is where the fun really starts. You want to get yourself a paper plate and your green paint. And I'm using the Waverly chalk paint in Fern. And again, I got this at Walmart. I think I gave about $7 for it. They're pretty inexpensive and the stuff dries pretty quick. So just give it a good shake. And you don't need a whole lot. So just give yourself maybe about a $half size. And you're gonna take a small wood block. You could even use one of those tumbling blocks from Dollar Tree. This was just some scrap wood that I had in my shop that I just cut down and sanded smooth. But you're just going to want a flat piece of wood that can fit in your hand, and it doesn't even have to be this wide. It could be any flat block, but you want it to look similar to this. And what you're going to do is you're going to dip it into your green paint. So you get a little bit of paint on one side, and then you're going to offload the paint. So you don't have a whole lot of paint on your block. You just want a little bit of paint. So you're just going to kind of just dab off. So you dip it in the paint and then dab it on your plate until you start getting some spots. So it's starting to come off pretty good on your block. So then what you're going to do is take one side and you're just going to stick it flat to your tree and just scrape down. So watch this. This is so neat. So you're just going to flat surface to flat surface, and you're just going to just scrape down the side, just flat. Not on the corner, you want it a flat side. So you're just going to flat, just like that. See how I'm flat? And you're just going to just scrape right down the tree. And you start getting this really cool technique. Isn't that neat? So then if you want to add a little bit more color, you just go back in, get a little bit more paint on your block, and try again. And I'm going to start down here now in the middle and just kind of scrape down. And just keep scraping. Isn't that the coolest thing? I just love this technique. It really adds kind of like this old, weathered, been sitting in a barnyard or in a garage somewhere, just sitting in like a barn for 100 years. Just really, really cool. Just super charming. And then you just keep, and then you can add more. So if you like that, then just move on to the next branch. And that's okay if you get quite a bit of paint. You could just scrape it down. And remember, we're going to put white on top of this. So if you want your tree to have a little bit of snow, we're going to do this same technique with the white. So we're just going to keep scraping until we get our tree completely coated in green paint. So I'm going to do all 3 branches on this side, all 3 branches on this side, and then I'm going to do just the front. So it's the same technique on the front. And how do you know what side is the front? The back has the nails. you want the light strand to be on the back side. So wherever the nails are is the back side of your tree. So you don't need to do the color technique on the back, just on the front and the two sides. I wouldn't necessarily go on the inside because you're not really going to see that so much. Your ornaments are going to be on the inside, plus you want your tree to dry. So I'm just going to do the outside and the very front. And I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just putting the block to the surface and just gently scraping down. Once you start doing the technique, you'll feel it. You'll feel how the paint is releasing. And you just kind of go back. And if you think a little spot is a little on the bare side, just go back in and add a little bit more paint. Just really, really neat technique. And the same thing with the front. I'm just going to go in and just scrape down. See how it's just flat surface to flat surface, and just scrape down. Almost like you're taking a knife and just scraping, but you're not using the edge of the block. You're doing the flat surface, flat to flat. But look at that, guys. Isn't that really neat? Very cool. I love this look. But you are more than welcome to paint your tree perfectly solid green if that's the look you want. There is no wrongs. Each to his own. And you don't always have to start on this side and go down. If you want to come up, you can absolutely do that too. And if you just want to catch the edges, you can do that. But you just want to make sure that when you stick your block in paint, you want to offload the paint, so you're not just globbing the paint onto your painting block and then going right to your tree, because you'll just have a solid line of paint. There won't be any of that antique-y look. And I'm not going to put any paint, green paint, on the foot. I'm just going to go all along the tree shape. But you can absolutely put greenery on the foot if you want to. So look at that, guys. Isn't that neat? Really, really cool. I just love this look. Really fun. And you can go this way with your block, or you can even go up and down, and just if you wanted to just get a narrow paint strip just right here, see how it just put like a little narrow strip on? You can turn your block that way. But just really, really cool. And I'm not pushing very hard, just enough to scrape the block down the side. And then I'll go back over and add a little bit more greenery over the top of the previous green, just to add a little interest, but not necessary at all. You get to decide how much green, how much brown, how much white your tree does. All right, and then once you get your tree coated in the green how you like, Then set it aside again to dry for another 15 to 20 minutes. You want to make sure that this green paint is dry. You can, if you touch it with your hand and it doesn't come off onto your fingers, then it's probably safe to move on to the white. So you're going to do the white just like you did the green. You're going to use your block and you're just going to just dab all over wherever the green is, because that's where the snow is going to fall. I will say this, that you want to make sure that you have a fresh plate. So you don't want to mix any of your green with your white, otherwise you'll have pale green snow. That's probably better than yellow snow. And then you want to make sure that you wipe your block off and make sure that there's no wet green paint on your block. Your block can be stained, but you just don't want to have any wet green paint, because again, it'll mix with the white and it'll be a pale green snow. So, but maybe that's a look you like, and that's okay too. So let this dry for a few minutes. Make sure that when you touch it, green paint doesn't come off on your hands, and I'll see you in just a few minutes. Okay, so now after you get your green paint all dry, you're going to want to add your white paint. You're going to put your snow on top of your green paint. And again, you're going to put it on each branch and on the front. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use less white paint than I did the green paint, so I can still see, so that the green paint shows through. And you need very, very little white paint. And what I'm going to do is I wiped my green paint off, but I'm going to use the other side of my block. And again, you're just going to dab into your paint and then offload the block so you don't have a whole bunch of paint on your block. And then you're going to do the exact same technique as you did the green. You're just going to just flat to flat and scrape. And you start getting that really cool technique. Isn't that cool, guys? I just love it. It's awesome. And again, I'm going to put it on the front also. But really, the white paint goes a long way. You just want to be real gentle. And see how that comes together? So neat. Guys, I just absolutely love this. And I'm just barely tapping it in the paint, and then I'm offloading it really well on a clean part of my plate. And I just scrape down. And don't forget your edges. And I go a little bit more with the snow on the very tips of the branches, just to add a little bit more inch. I'm going to flip it around and do the other side, and then I'll do the front. But again, guys, I'm not using a whole lot of white paint, but I'm really offloading that. Just dab, 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 dab on your plate, and then go in. Put a little extra attention with the white just around the edges, just like it would be on a real tree, right on the edges. don't forget the front. And again, I'm just gonna go right where my tree is. I'm not gonna get the foot. Although, if you look at nature, there will be snow on tree trunks. And then once you're done adding your white paint, we're done with the painting. So you're gonna wanna let this dry and then we'll move on to the next step. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's turning out so cute. I told you it was easy and fun. It's so fun. I love it. All right. So once you get your tree painted the way you like and it's pretty much dry, you don't want the inside of your tree to be damp. So if you touch it and the paint comes off and or it feels a little cool to the touch, your tree's probably still a little too wet to do any gluing. So I would make sure that your tree is dry and so you can move on to the next step. So the next step, we're gonna add our ornaments. And this is the fun part. You get to decorate your tree with all the shiny baubles. And I love this so much. It's so much fun. So you have a couple of options. You can just go with complete hot glue, or you can add your ornaments with some glue dots. And I got mine at Dollar Tree. They're really inexpensive and surprisingly really easy to use. So what the glue dots will do is it'll buy you time. So we'll attach all the ornaments to our tree with the glue dots, and then we'll go in behind where you can't see and we'll add a little bit of hot glue to make it a little bit more permanent. You can absolutely just go straight in with hot glue. It's completely up to you, but the glue dots kind of buy you a little bit of time, especially if you have a change of heart on where an ornament goes. If you put one here and decide that it needs to be here, it can peel off a little easier with a glue dot. So again, Dollar Tree to the rescue. Awesome. So they just come in sheets and you just peel off this plastic. There's a plastic film. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a plastic film. You just peel them off and they stick to that, and then you'll just stick them right to your ornament. And they're perforated so you can cut them down to make them a little bit easier. But it's hard to see, but there's 3 little glue dots. There's one here, and one here. So really simple. But you basically just want to stick the glue dot to the ornament and then stick the ornament to your tree. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to decide where we want our ornaments. So you just want to kind of do a rough draft of where you would like your ornaments to go. And I recommend kind of laying them out and just kind of deciding what is visually pleasing to you. And variety is key. So I would make sure that you kind of spread around each style. So you don't have a bunch of glitter up here and then a bunch of like non-glitter down here. But again, it's completely up to you. If you want to do all glitter, that's completely up to you. Dollar Tree has really inexpensive ornaments. I just went and grabbed a couple of different tubes and different sizes. I have some larger ones. I have some medium sized, and then I have some small. I think these are about a 1 inch. I think these are maybe 2 inches and maybe about 1.5 inches. And there's larger and there's also smaller. It's completely up to you what you want to use. The original tree that I did was a very traditional colorway of the red and green and gold with a snowflake. But I think this particular tree, I'm going to do something a little bit more soft and a little bit more, I don't know, kind of maybe feminine. I think it's just super glamorous. So yeah, but it's completely up to you, whatever look you like. So what you want to do is you just kind of want to lay out the ornaments in kind of the design you want. And I will give you a little heads up that it's visually pleasing to do groups of 3. So I'm going to do a group up here, I'm going to put one here, and then I'm going to do a group here. But again, if you want them all on one side, if you don't want any ornaments at all, you can absolutely skip this step. But you just want to make sure that you want to lay them out how you want. I think I'll put one here. And I'm just going to make a soft curve, and then I think I'm going to put maybe something like this. So I have a sparkly one next to a shiny one, and I got a shiny one way over here, but I don't have a glitter, or however. I'm just kind of spreading it around, but I have a group here, and then I have one little guy over here. So it kind of keeps your eye going in a circle, if that makes sense. So, but I like that. I think that that's really pretty, and I think it'll be really fun little shapes. So now what we're gonna do, and it might be a good idea once you have everything laid out to get out your phone and take a photo of this, so you can remember in case you bump your tree or you pick your tree up to kind of move things around, then you lose your group. So it might be a good idea to snap a photo, and then you will have your design, and then you can just follow along with your photo. So, and go ahead and start your glue gun, because we're going to need this in a minute. So we're going to attach all the ornaments with the glue dots, and then we'll go on the back side where you can't see it, and we'll add a little bit of hot glue between all the ornaments, and that is the magic. So I do recommend putting the ornaments on first and then adding your snowflake, because the snowflake is going to kind of attach in between the ornaments. But you can absolutely add your snowflake to the front of your tree like that. So, or at the top or at the bottom, it's completely up to you, or you can add multiple snowflakes, completely up to you. This is your tree. You get to decide how you want it. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to start at the top, and I know that I want this ornament kind of right in the crook, right in here. So I've got contact with the tree right here, and I got contact with the tree right here. See what I mean by that? And I'm not going to place it right at the front, and I'm not going to go way deep into the tree. I'm just going to be kind of right in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a glue dot kind of right here and a glue dot kind of right there, and then I'm going to stick my ornament to the tree just like that. Now there are seams on your ornaments, so I recommend putting the seam to the side and not to the front, but it's not terribly obvious. So, but just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to go ahead, and that's pretty much where I'm going to place that. So I'm going to put a glue dot right there and a glue dot right there. Put the glue dot right there, and then you're just going to peel the backing off. And now you'll have a glue dot on your ornament. I got a couple of them. I got one there and I got one there. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick it to the tree. And you're just going to kind of let it make contact. I'm just going to hold it for a second, and then you have an attached ornament. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the smaller ornament, I'm doing a shiny one up in the top, and I'm going to turn mine upside down so the little hook is facing down. All right, so now I'm going to put this one up in the corner. So I know I'm going to have contact with the tree here and here. So I'm going to put a glue dot on here and on this side. But again, you don't have to do the glue dots if you don't want to. If you want to just go ahead and use the hot glue, that's perfectly fine. And now I'm going to stick this ornament right in the corner. Just like that. So now I have two. And I'm going to put this one kind of like, I'm thinking kind of like that, so it's kind of spilling out. So I know now that I want to put my ornament there. So this ornament is going to attach to the first one I put in, and it's also going to attach to the tree right in this area. So I'm going to put a glue dot here and a glue dot here. So just double check your placement. I think that'll work just nice. There we go. And then I think I'm going to need one right on the side here. Super easy. And then put it right there. Just hold it for a second, let it get attached. Now we have three attached. Isn't this fun, guys? I love it. So much fun. And then my final ornament, I think I'm going to put kind of right in there, because if you remember, I'm going to put my snowflake kind of over in this area. So I want to make sure that I have an ornament to make that bridge. So I'm going to put an ornament right there so I can put my snowflake like that. So I'm going to make my ornament kind of go like that. See if this one works. It might be asking a little bit too much, but we'll see. We'll see what this glue dot can hold it. Matter of fact, I'll put one on. I'll put a couple there, and I put one there. So we'll put double glue dot on there. Matter of fact, I didn't need that second one, so. And I needed to reposition, so I went ahead and held on to this ornament to pull this one off. So if I were to just pull this one off, I would have pulled these also. So you want to make sure, if you want to reposition anything, that you're holding on to the other ornament. And this glue dot is a little bit too far up. So what I'm going to do is just pull this glue dot off. It comes right off, see? And then I'm going to add a second. I'm going to put another glue dot on, but I'm going to put it a little bit closer to the stem, so it's a little less visible. And then I'm going to put it right back where I had it. I'm just going to hold it for a second. Just like that. We're going to do the other groups just like we did the top group. Find position, add a glue dot or two, and then stick it to the tree. This ornament to face, and I think I'm going to put it kind of like right there. And then this ornament will attach to both of those that I just placed in there, just like that. And then I'm going to put this one like that to add a little bit of interest, so there's a little bit of negative space between my ornaments and my tree. So I'll put that one there and that one just like that. Back, just like that. Gotta make contact with the. So then this one will just sit kind of in the corner, just like that. All right, and then once you get all of your placement, you can go on the, flip your tree over and glue all the ornaments together with a little bit of hot glue. And you want to just be pretty sparing with it. You don't need a whole lot. You just want to attach each one. You want to support it until it cools. You want to make sure that you support the ornament against the tree and put a little bit of hot glue there too. You don't need a whole lot. You just need enough just to kind of catch each one. All right, and then you want to let that cool. Double check and make sure you got all the points of contact. Not only did I glue all the ornaments to the tree, but I glued in between each ornament. I glued every single point of contact. And then you'll want to make sure you go back over and make sure that everything is glued. Oh, not just let go. So you gotta make sure you support your ornament. Just make sure you support your ornament while it's still warm. That each ornament is glued to one another, and then it's also glued to the tree. You can see that. If you find that your ornaments aren't sticking to your tree, it's because your paint, your wood, your tree is still wet. So you want to make sure, it's really imperative that your paint is dry. So, and then what we'll do is we're going to add our snowflake right there. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue here on this. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back side here and a little bit of glue on the back side of that. And these are really lightweight. They don't take a whole lot, and I'm just going to glue them in between here and here, just like that. And I find it a little bit easier to put the hot glue on the snowflake than to line it up on the ornament. So you want to make sure you know which. I'm going to do it here and here, right on the back side. So I'll mark it with my fingers, put some here and some here. And we'll put them right down like that. And make sure you support your ornaments. And just let that cool. Now we're going to add a little bit of greenery to our tree. And again, I just picked these up at the Dollar Tree, but I'm sure Hobby Lobby or Michael's or anybody that sells craft supplies would have some little mini greenery. And I just cut a couple of pieces, just a couple of small pieces, and I'm going to put some right down in this area right here, and then I think I'm going to put some maybe right in here, or maybe right here. We'll see. So you really don't, and this is just a little extra, and I think I'll just play around and see what I like here. And I think that's cute right there. So I'll go ahead and add a little bit of glue on the bottom. Stick it right down in there. But you could use tinsel, you can add the greenery, you can even do more little snowflakes. You can make this completely your own. And just a little bit of greenery. Might add one more little piece. I got this little guy right here. I might add that right in there. So I might add a little extra glue. And I'll stick that right down in there. Let that cool. Almost done, guys. It's coming together. So cute. I love it. Absolutely love this painting technique. Super easy, super fun, and it dries really quick. And then I'm going to take this little piece of greenery right here, and I'm going to play around and see, where do I want this piece at? Make sure I don't get all my little glue stringies out. Let's see here. I might cut this. To cut this down, I just got a pair of inexpensive, I think I might even pick these up at the Dollar Tree or just like any hardware store, just some wire cutters. They're just little sharp wire nips. And I think what I'm going to do is just cut this down. Just make these a little bit smaller. So now I have just two individuals. It's a little bit more delicate. So now I think I'll just stick those right down in there. I think that'll work. Stick that right there. Just give it a second to cool. And then I'll stick the other piece right on the side, right in there, just like that. All right, now we're gonna attach our light strand. So go ahead and unwind it and stretch it out. So you're just gonna unwind it and then kind of gently run it through your fingers. So I'm just tugging the little kinks out, but you wanna make sure that you don't kink the line. You just wanna make sure that it's all the way unraveled and not tangled. And then you'll notice at the very base where the light switch is, that there is a little bit of a tube that's wrapped around the base of that wire. So we're gonna start our wrap right at the base where that little plastic is. See where there's like a little bit of a plastic. So we're gonna wrap, we're gonna go right to the very far left nail, take and wrap our wire gently around that very far left nail. And we're going to go all the way up to the very top nail. And I'm pulling gently. You want to be firm but not forceful. And you're going to go around that top nail, and you're going to come right back down, and you're going to hit that second nail. You're going to go around that second nail, and then you're going to come over to the third nail and come up. And you're going to go all the way back up to that very top nail and come back down to that fourth nail. You're going to come over to the fifth nail and go right back up. And again, I'm giving a little bit of tension to the line, but I'm not pulling super hard. And then you come over to the top and you come right down. You're going to come right down the middle, and you're just going to take your tail and you're going to wrap gently around the middle line. So you're just wrapping your tail around the middle line. So you'll have basically a double strand in the middle. Just around and around and around. Super easy, guys. I told you you could do it. My goodness, it's so cute. And then, oh, my greenery came out. I have to re-glue my greenery. I'll stick a little glue on there. Don't forget to turn your tree on. Oh my gosh, you guys, and look how it turned out. I told you you could do this. Super easy, super fun. Oh my gosh, anybody can do this. Who knew painting with a wood block would be so much fun? I told you guys, so much fun. You guys, thank you for following along with me today. It was a great time and I enjoyed every moment of it. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and I'll try to respond as quick as I can. All right, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.